Good morning, everyone. I'm Ganesh Subramanian, founder and CEO of Stylumia. I hope all of you are keeping very well and staying safe. I welcome you all to this morning's CEO Talk. We've been having a series of talks by CEOs over the last few weeks to talk about their expert views on how any fashion and lifestyle brand or retailer can navigate the COVID challenge and come out resilient and future ready. These are the times to share and collaborate with the ecosystem. Today, we have a very special guest, Harminder Sahni, founder and managing director of Wazir Advisors, a consulting firm offering a comprehensive range of services to its clients to create, compete, and grow their consumer-centric businesses in retail, CPG, textiles, apparel, and skilling sectors. That's really broad. Harminder has worked for over 25 years as a management consultant in a consumer goods, retail, and textile sector. He has advised some of the most reputed Indian and international companies in the sector on corporate strategy, business creation, diversification, and performance enhancement. I've been seeing Harminder at work for many years from now in the industry. Harminder comes from a very fresh outside-in perspective. So far, we have been listening to functional CEOs. Here is one talk where we will listen to somebody who's coming from a completely fresh outside perspective without any stake. We will have Harminder talk first and then have a Q&A. I would like the audience to ask questions through the link already shared. And in case you would like to ask live, please use the chat option. With that introduction, please join me in welcoming Harminder. Over to you, Harminder.
Yeah, good morning, Ganesh, and thanks for having me. So a couple of things I'll say about this part, that why since the time I joined consulting very early on, I think so today's 23rd April, 96 when I started my career in consulting. So it's 24 years exactly today. And I remember that date because I was dissuaded by lots of people who I used to work with in my previous job that, why are you going to become a consultant? Consultant is somebody who works for 30 years and then does consulting for the last 3 years to cash on his experience. You have just worked for 3 years and you think you are going to be a consultant for 30 years. So thanks to whatever, I would say, the ecosystem, friends like you and lots of clients that I have completed 24, I wish to complete another 6 and prove that point that yes, one can. But the point is that's the time how people used to look at consulting, that consultant is somebody who has worked in the industry for 30 years and then he can advise for the next 3 years. But the way, excuse me, I understood from my KSA senior colleagues, American consulting was far more mature and they understood it much better, and they make me understand. We are calling you consultant because you work for a consulting firm doesn't mean that you have become a consultant, right? It will take you many, many years to become a consultant. And second thing which they explained was that consultant is not an outsider. Consultant is the part of the ecosystem, like any other professional services providers, which obviously in India, I also engineering, MBA, all of that done, but still I also had no idea that how the consulting profession is. It's very, very new to the country. So yes, I bring in an outsider's view, but yes, as much as an insider, as because our stakes are, let's say stakes are very, very high. Our clients do well, we do well. Clients don't do well, we don't do well at all. We depend on the industry to survive. And that's how I look at it this time. So today, when you asked me to talk about, let's say in this scenario, so initial couple of weeks when the lockdown happened, we were all sort of like, didn't know. I think it was generally when Mr. Modi asked all of us to stand in the balconies and clap and do all of that, I came inside from my balcony and I told my wife, and I was talking to my son also, I said, this is the peak, right? Now starts the downslide, right? Now we will start going down into this deep hole, right? This is the peak which we have now, and from there we'll start. It's a good thing to start with an excitement and enthusiasm, all of it, but now we'll start going deep into this. And that's what has been happening since then. But it's one event which we are trying to look at and how it's going to impact all of us, and nobody knows, right? But frankly speaking, same way if you look at it, we don't know really what is going to happen tomorrow at any point of time. We have no idea. We believe so that we are living in a predictable world. So as a consulting firm, when we are helping our clients, we are always claiming that we can look into the future and tell you what's going to happen and help you make your plans, help you make your strategies. So it's not different, no different at this point of time. That's how I look at it. But first 2 weeks, it was not the feeling. it took some time for me also to realize it, that one has to take it as life as usual and say that, yes, taking into account whatever you know, how you need to project the future and how you help your clients in terms of planning for their specific businesses. And that's when I started with series of talks with our clients, one client at a time, with their larger teams, talking about that what could be specific to their business, what could be the way forward, and how should they go about it. And discussions have been encompassing on many things. And first thing which I would like to touch with most of the people, at least I'm very, very concerned about right now, is about the people side of it. That what's going to happen to the professionals, what's going to happen to the people who work for the firm, who work in the industry, right? We can talk about shrinking our capacities, we can talk about reducing salaries, we can talk about closing down businesses, we talk about how are we going to tackle this also. And it's not from the people's point of view I'm looking at it, right? Again, let me say this very, very categorically. I'm not trying to, individuals have resilience. We as a society, they will survive. They'll find another job. What will happen to the companies who have spent last few months, few years or decades, right? Building their teams, building their capacity. And now suddenly in this unprecedented move, they will take decisions that will end up losing some of that capacity. And it will become a major issue trying to rebuild that going forward in future. So I think word capacity which I'm using is the word which needs to be focused on. And again, like I said, it's all through interaction with lots of clients, lots of senior people that these ideas are coming through, that we need to look at it as a capacity. We have the capacity. Are we wanting to lose it just because we cannot utilize it for a month, 2 or 3, right? Or even for 6? Are we wanting to lose it? Because we have the possibility or we have the way to do it. While your plants, your infrastructure, you can't do anything about it. You're not going to sell that machinery. You're not going to sell those factories, right? You can't dispose them off. So why would you like to do that? With the people side of it, that's how it needs to be thought. Some people are saying that market is going to shrink and it will take time to recover. I will not need that capacity. But now my question to them is that, why are you thinking like that? Because if the market, how much market share any brand or any retailer or any player has in the market? Very, very limited. Not many people. Even a company like Reliance claims that they have around 3-4% of the GDP of India's GDP, or maybe a little less than that, right? Very little share each one we have. Why are we thinking that somebody sitting there, an accountant, is deciding what could be your market share and what is your capacity to capture it, right? You make your plans, you think hardly, forget about the market in general. You make your plan that given that you have these people, you have this capacity, how possibly you can, when the market recovers, get better share than what you had before we went into the lockdown. That's the way to think about it. That has to be, people need to be taken a part of that equation as a capacity. Nobody is saying here that you need to carry people who are not required, or who anyway were not performing and you had to let them go. Or nobody is saying that you need to pay people full salaries, because if the business is down, business is down. It's down for everybody, right? I still remember and I still hope. Few years ago, 3-4 years ago, I gave up hoping for the golden era of 2000 to 2007 to come back. And we used to double our salaries at least every 2 years, right? So I kept waiting for that to happen. But sometime around 2016, I felt that time to give it up. It's not coming back. I think same way. We all need to accept it. That India is a large economy. I had this free time. My son showed me one of my old presentations on YouTube where I start with this thing. Look at India. It's $1 trillion economy, right? It was 2010. And now we're a $3 trillion economy, right? It's a very large economy. Don't worry about how large is China, how large is US. India is a very large economy from where we started even 10 years ago. We are 3 times of that. There's enough room. Even if it's going to not grow, maybe our industry is going to shrink by a few percentage points, still it's a very, very large market opportunity. We are looking at it. We have this time. Always we are spending maybe 10, 15, 20% of our time at senior level to think about future. Right now we have 100% of the time, or maybe more, because there's no Sundays, Mondays, or time to go home or commuting, maybe more to think about the future. And future is infinite. Future is much, much more than what we have seen in the past. I think there's a great opportunity to spend time thinking about the future strategies and taking into account all the capacity we have available with us. And also some of the capacity which will become available for some people, either foolishly or by force or by compulsion, will end up releasing in the market. So be ready to capture that. That's how I'm looking at it very optimistically. Not everybody will be able to execute this plan because people will get bogged down, do that. but people who will, I think they are going to come out much stronger, much larger, and much smarter out of this. Yeah, Ganesh, anything specific you want me to talk about?
Yeah, in fact, see, maybe you can touch upon one is the, looking at the asset dimension of people, and anything on the demand side, on the supply side, if you can touch upon it, would be great.
Sure. So on the demand side, we are working on a model we should be releasing soon. We are saying that there are 3 scenarios which could possibly play out. If May 3rd is the end date of lockdown, we call it will be 40 days lockdown. So we are saying lockdown 40, LD 40. But then there are talks that it can go up to 1st May, that is LD 70, and 30th June will be LD 100. If these 3 events are going to happen, right? 3 situations, if they are LD 40, 70, or 100, we don't know which one is going to happen. So every time it will take some time to recover. And we are saying that we will consider market on recovery path when the day it will reach 60-70% of what it was doing, what was expected to do in that point of time. So we are saying last year's sale was 100, and if this month was going to be X, if it is 0.6, 0.7X, that month or that moment we'll say that market is on path to recovery. To recover to 67% after LD 40, I believe it will take 30 to 40 days. If the moment it becomes LD 70, then it's going to take 70-75 days to recover to that additional. And when it goes to 100 days, then it will take maybe 120, 130 days to recover, or maybe more to recover to that level. So our lockdown becoming longer will make our recovery longer. So total period which will spend in lockdown and in recovering to 60-70% is only going to get longer. So I think everyone will have to look at the demand from these 3 ways. From consumer side, demand is driven by the consumer. What will happen is up to LD 40, and we are using the term that consumer when they'll come back, they will say, "Jaan bachi lakhon pai," right? It's all right? And we are happy here. Ye sab theek hai, kisi ko kuch nahi hua, few people suffered and all of that. But numbers the way they are, most of the people don't know anybody directly affected. The numbers are small for our size of the country. LD 40, that's what we say. Jaan bachi lakhon pai, people will be optimistic. And they'll come back to normal. They will come back with enthusiasm to the life, to their offices, and then hopefully to the markets to shop. That's how it will happen. But when it's LD 70, right, people will only feel that we have survived. Jaan hai, jahan hai. कि ठीक है चलो बच भी गए जॉब भी है अभी तो let's go back and they will be behaving in a regular normal neutral way. But when it comes to LD 100, most of the people will say we are dead, jaan nikal gayi. Because LD 100 is going to, sitting at LD 30 or 31, I can tell you this is what it is, close to 30 days, and I think most of people, it has started playing on people's mind now, right? People want to get out, people want to breathe fresh air, all of that. So imagine a very pessimistic consumer we will have coming back, right? And it's not that it's just the psychological thing. Because even this morning I was listening to Rajiv Bajaj and he's saying that yes, we can survive, we don't need any SOPs, but for how long? If we are a debt-free, rich, cash-rich company, we can keep paying full salaries, but for how long? LD 100 is that time when people like Rajiv Bajaj also will start wondering that how long I'm going to continue to keep everybody and pay them full salary. Imagine what will happen down the line. So I think at that we'll have a very pessimistic consumer. And just looking at our fashion, apparel, lifestyle industry, our belief is in case of LD 40, we are looking at a market shrinkage of around 20% value-wise. And then if we are looking at LD 70, we are looking at around 35% shrinkage. And if we are looking at LD 100, when we are looking at 50% or more shrinkage on the demand side, that's what we are looking at it. And why I'm saying we in value terms, because and coming to this side, responses from the supply side. So one is that on supply side, there are 3 things. One is that stores are closed. How can anybody shop? Even when stores open, right, they will open in a staggered manner. You still can't shop. Then the delivery of non-essential is stopped, how far it will open and how much more, let's say, delivery capacity can be brought to the market by the e-commerce way. It's not that they have infinite capacity. The day lockdown started, this big basket was not delivering it. You're not taking orders in Gurgaon, right, because they don't have the capacity. Right, even though they were allowed to deliver, right? Same thing will happen. So recovery cannot happen that fast from supply when effects close. So I still believe in our industry we have enough inventory to sell, but they will, if it goes to LD 100, you will have supply issue also. You will not have basic intimate wear, basic t-shirts also will run out of stock because nobody is making and keeping for next few months, right? And what color, what demand, and we have all those challenges also for us. dal and atta is not, rice is not what we deal in. We deal in products, every SKU is unique. So that supply side issue will start happening there. So you don't have points of sales, you don't have delivery, you don't have merchandise, that will start happening. Value terms impact will come in because most of the companies, and that's wherever I'm talking to the client, I'm urging them that this is not the time when the lockdown will open that you can force people to buy more because you're offering lower prices, right? And I think if we get into that deep discounting for whatever reason, and I can't see, and again, that's where I think, Ganesh, I'll hide behind this fact that we said earlier that I'm an outsider, right? Because if I'm sitting on that inventory, I can't take that view. But I am saying I don't see logical reason for companies to go into deep discounts because they were closed down for 40 days, 70 days, 100 days, and now suddenly they want to sell quicker or earlier than the other guy. Please do your maths. Selling earlier, is it better than selling later at a slightly better price? Do your maths and you will get your answers. Everybody has to find their own answer. But I think because of that, I'm seeing there could be a value depletion of the market which will happen, right? Same volume, but we will be getting much lesser money because everybody just wants to get rid of stock. So I think that side is going to be very, very critical. So people will have to be very careful about it. And what do they do when the market opens, right? And I'm not even hoping that the whole industry can take some of these calls. But I think some of the leaders, they can lead with their actions and they can guide the market properly. Because I don't think consumer will be buying extra clothes just because it's available at a cheaper price. Whichever mood they come back with, do take life as normal. It was a chutti. We all come back. It was everything was closed. It's like Europeans go for a 1 month vacation every year. What do they do when they come back? Right? There's a plan because they've taken into account it's a 1 month holiday which happens every year. You don't behave irrationally after that just because you didn't work for 30 days, we didn't sell for 30 days, we didn't make money for 30 days. You don't do that. I think that's how it needs to be thought through. But I'm just hoping, and that more we talk about it, more people will think about it, and more people will not. They will take no as decision. But at least the starting point should be that. So that's how we're looking at it. Yes, market is going to get depressed, Ganesh. There's no running away from that, right? And I hope I could be proven wrong. Even at 80%, there are people who have told me, Harminder, you are being very optimistic, right? And actually, I don't want to name it, but somebody actually sent me a message saying, "Tumhare muh mein ghee shakkar, agar 80% hota hai to," right? That's the best case scenario I'm saying, and they are saying nahi hone wala hai, even with 40 days lockdown. And I think 80 or 70 will happen mainly because of the discounts. That's what they will make it happen. So they will have to prove me wrong, but I don't think so. It's important. But I think that people are much more worried than that. I think they should not worry as much because you worry, more irrational calls you will take. Take it in stride. It has happened. We can't take it. We have done businesses for 10, 20, 30, 40 years in the past. Barring this financial year, we will go ahead and still do business for next unlimited amount of time. Our companies will be there, our brands will be there, right? They will make money. Let's not try to do something which just for this year we should not try to do something exceptional on business end.
Amazing, Harminder. I think I just want to first of all tell you that when I meant outside in view was just from the freshness perspective. I really don't know that how you get involved in all your projects, right? Just moving on that, quick summary of what you have mentioned so far. One is looking at all people or also as assets or capacity you mentioned in your words. And would you throw a machine if, let's say that, you didn't have an order for some time? Very interesting perspective. And these are the times to think about future. We don't get such, free time to think about future. I think that's a message for all across all levels of leadership. And, and execution will be the key in the sense, one is making plan and second is whoever executes well is going to win this race. And really like the construct that you talked about planning in scenarios, whether it is LD 40, 70, 100, and I'm sure people can make any scenarios. And we also liked your recommendations on what you think, your predictions on what you think would be a demand contraction at various scenarios. And I'm sure it will help a lot of audience today to at least have a cold start in their planning. And you also talked about how do you handle inventory at this stage. And in terms of value depletion is going to be in the hands of the decider, right? Are you going to be rational? Are you going to be irrational? So I think your recommendation that these are times to be rational, step back, and very interesting perspective on Europe going on holiday for 30 days. I think, it brings a very different context here. LD 40 and Europe going on 30 is very close, right? And I think we should just look at, and things could be normal when we come back and be rational. Awesome perspectives, very unique and very different. We'll move on to questions from the audience, Harminder, and fair amount of questions have come. And let me go on the basis of the votes that we have received so far. First question is, inventory in the system will be used for a while before the new orders start flowing in. What's your view on the textile sector in the back end?
Yeah, clearly. See, we have been talking about textile sector with a lot of our clients looking in the exports and the domestic market. And so very briefly, if I have to say this, that in the exports market, yes, there are two things which are happening which can play in our favor. So because manufacturing capacity is manufacturing capacity, whether it's for domestic or whether it's for exports. So when we look at the manufacturing and textile industry, we look at both. So we are saying on one side, there is going to be less demand from the domestic market. So that means there will be extra capacity available for us to export, right? When it's extra capacity available, that means it can be offered at a much more, let's say, tighter prices, much more competitive prices, because extra capacity which become available, right? On the other side, from the demand side, from the export market, there is some kind of a emotional backlash which China is facing. And China had $250 billion worth of exports to the world, and India had 16 billion. If China even loses 2-3 billion to us, we are going to be doing tremendously well. We won't be able to even handle that much. So China doesn't have to lose too much for us to gain from it. And because Bangladesh, Vietnam, Myanmar, most of them are depending on some way on China, on the fabric side of it, and there are issues to do with social distancing and lockdown there, so we may still get something. Second is a market like Japan, which has an import of around $36 billion every year. They import 80% from Japan, China, and none from India, very little from India. And they are good friends with India. They have decided to move out of China and say almost $30 billion worth of market available to us. So Indian suppliers can look at this direction. From looking at capacity, most of the time, Ganesh, you come from the same supply chain. So you know that most of the time we are looking at exporters. Can they spare some capacity for the domestic market? But in the last 10 years, the domestic capacity has also built up quite well. And now they will be sitting idle. Can we use that domestic capacity for the exports market? If we put it together, I think we are in a very good shape. We can take advantage of that. People will have to think differently, right? And I think somewhere, if we really look at it, some of our domestic brand companies, they have the skills in terms of sourcing, manufacturing, designing, and then shipping to their own stores. Would they like to, at this point of time, look at this opportunity to probably do this for some brand or retailer in the international market? Or maybe some of their partners themselves with whom they don't have a sourcing relationship. Would they like to do that and help their suppliers who are making garments for them, making textiles for them, by getting orders from their international partners and supplying through this supply chain, and not looking at the possibility of anybody trying to make too much money in it? Do it efficiently, do it competitively. Just do the numbers and you realize that when I'm saying that some of the large companies and their partners, they can pick up billion, 2 billion worth of goods in a year just by deciding that they have to pick it up from here, as long as they have some professional organization managing it for them. So I see a great opportunity in this, right? People just have to reorient their minds to it. They have the resources, they have the capacity, they just have to reorient their mind. But if they'll keep worrying about it, can I supply another cheaper bunch of clothing to my own stores, my own brand, and not make any money, but still take market share? Not the right approach. Look at business as business should be looked at.
This is awesome, Harminder. It looks like a health dividend I'm hearing that, and I'm sure everybody hearing right now that there seems to be an export dividend at this point of time rather than a worry or a capacity issue. So very interesting.
If we convert into a dividend, then yes, it is. Otherwise, if we start saying, see, we make 1,400 million meters of denim in this country, right? Most of it is made into jeans in India. Very little denim fabric is exported, but hardly any jeans is exported. But the jeans which we are making in India, do you think it is worse than the jeans which is sold at Gap or Walmart or Target or M&S? No, it is not, because the same brands are making jeans in India and selling in India, but we don't export. But now there is going to be a lesser demand from the domestic market. So can that same shipment go to now those markets? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. But people have to reorient their thinking to it. Even I'm saying to the professionals that they have to rethink about it. A local a domestic brand, merchandiser and a designer and all of that, can they reorient themselves, or sourcing guy, reorient themselves for putting, rather than putting, let's say, that 10,000 jeans on a truck to go to a warehouse somewhere in Indore versus putting it on a container and going to somewhere in US. That's the only difference. Before that, every activity, if you really think about it, is the same for them.
Very, very interesting. I think, it's a thought, food for thought for a lot of people, even the brand companies, their partnerships, the ecosystem, and also the professionals. Wonderfully put. Moving on to the next question. We are hearing departmental stores globally are in danger. Serious cash flow and debt implication with Neiman Marcus, JCPenney, Macy's, and the likes. Any implications you're seeing?
Yeah, that's true. And that's true. Many of these people will go into bankruptcy. That's a reality. And I hope nothing like that happens in India. And it can happen anywhere depending on the length of the lockdown and the severity of this pandemic. I think it can happen, and it will have implications on the suppliers who are there. But most of the people who are in the exports business or have been there for a long time, they've seen this happen 3-4 times in the last 20 years. Right, where there are people who situations happen, and in those countries, because India, IBC and all is all new, but there it has been Chapter 11 bankruptcy laws have been there forever. Most of the people who are in exports, they are quite used to dealing with this situation. Maybe they would have been caught on the wrong foot probably in '99, but not many were caught on the wrong foot in 2008. And I hope that they will not be caught on the wrong foot in 2020. How much is the exposure? How do you diversify your exposure? How do you insure yourself against it? There are various tools available to that, because it's a predictable scenario. It can happen anytime. Right now, it can happen to many people, but it can happen to any of the companies. It happens routinely. So I think people who are of a certain scale and certain level of maturity, I think they should have taken into account that regardless.
No, absolutely. Completely agree with you. Moving on to the next question, Harminder, thus considering the current situation and the past track records, what do you see as future of retail formats?
See, let's talk about India, and that's the only market I fully understand. So in India, I think India is under-retailed even today, right? So Indian consumers. So let's say we start when we just given that the amount of information which is available and amount of analysis which is available. So we start thinking world as a global market. But when you just look at Indian market today, also dipstick survey will tell you that almost 70-80% of India's population, right, may not have shopped with an organized retailer, right?
Yeah.
Once or twice, I will not count it in. Right? On a regular basis, I think it's only 20-30% population who would be. And when I'm saying organized retailer, I will talk into all rural organized, everything I'll take into account, that wherever there's an organized player. Secondly, I don't think maybe, again, 70-75% people have been to a mall. Again, I will not, like going to Taj Mahal doesn't mean that you live at Taj Mahal. Same way, if somebody has been to a mall as if they are visiting Taj Mahal, I will not count that as one. Right, 70-75% people don't go to the mall. Thirdly, so this is on the retail points point of view. Now let me go slightly on the other side. So recently I went back to Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta a couple of years long back in the late 90s, and I went back to Atlanta. And first time when I went there, I had asked my KSA colleague, I wanted to see Walmart. And I kept asking everybody said, I don't know where is Walmart. And I knew there are 4 Walmarts in Atlanta. And then finally, one of the guys who was also, like I was from India, he's from Brazil, and he has lived, now was working with KSA there, had become an American. He was my manager, and he laughed and said that, Harminder, everybody shops at Walmart, nobody accepts it. So all these fancy consultants, they're never going to accept that. They even know where is Walmart, right? So then he took me to Walmart store, and there I went shopping, and I was amazed. First thing, the parking lot itself is like, and then when you walk into the store, you think it's like one store, it's bigger than any market you have seen, right? So I was quite amazed, and obviously I was so surprised and shocked with all of that. I couldn't even do any more, let's say, make any more observation on this thing. That's all I remember about that. I don't remember anything else I have. But this time I said that now, not the parking lot of the store, not the amount of much, and nothing is going to impress me. Let me go a little bit deep. So I said, I just went to the kitchen section, and only thing which I wanted products are available for kitchen in India. Why I did that was because first time 96 when I had gone there, I remember a few colleagues were also with me for induction at KSA. And these people, I didn't know that I didn't even know anything about wines, forget about a wine bottle opener. For me, I have only beer bottle and a whiskey bottle. That's what we understood. And these people, they were wanting to buy a wine bottle opener. And I said, why do you want to buy it from wine? They say, you don't get it in India. And later I realized, yeah, it's not possible to buy a wine bottle opener in India. So that was India at that point. Now you can. But still, in the Walmart kitchen section, more than half the products such, you won't find them in India. How many knives do you have at home? Right? You may not even know, but now you may know. You have been at home for 5 weeks now, so every one of us will know more about our kitchen. But the point is, right? Americans will have, or Walmart is selling at least probably 250 types of knives. Right? We don't have it there. So what I am saying, in India, we haven't seen the products. We haven't forget about seeing the brands, right? Or experience the shopping, right? How can we suddenly say that, yeah, I know what I want to buy and I'll go online and buy it. I know what I need. I know which brand is what. We know nothing. We have to learn all of that. And to learn all of that, you need space. People need to look at the products. People need to touch and feel it. People need to compare brands. People need to try things. People need to hear things from others. And then people want to, because now they are suddenly feeling that, yes, I have extra money to spend beyond my daily need. They want pampered. They want to enjoy their air conditioning. They want to, they want to be called sir and ma'am. All of that. Given all of that, I think physical retail in India is still, we are under retailed in a huge way, right? Huge way, right? So I think that gap is to be filled. Yes, for sure, we are never going to be as good as US. So the per square foot, per million, how much square foot we will have here will never reach the US standards. We should not. We should not either. So now, because of this all happening, I think even those benchmarks will disappear and we will create our own benchmark. But on a rough calculation basis, I think India still has only 10 or 15% of the retail space, which it requires today. When we become 5 trillion, 6 trillion, obviously more. We only have 10-15% of the retail space, which is needed for most to be able to in the kind of shopping, reserve products, on the physical retail for sure, for sure.
Harminder, I think more and more we speak to you, I think there's a lot more optimism, right? And I think we are talking about retail itself is under-retailed in the country and there is a huge opportunity there. For moving forward, next question is, while there is a lot talked about threat for small and medium-sized companies, do you see opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Ganesh. Because I think given that the world is going to remain uncertain, remain fearful and all of that, I think because see, how do you place an order for 500,000 shirts? Because you are very certain of that you are going to be able to sell 500,000 shirts, right? For any product category. I think given not only because of this COVID, otherwise also, given that the consumer is far more aware, far more alert, far more, let's say, flush, right? Moving from one brand to another, more and more we'll be looking at people who review smaller lots, flexible delivery, quicker delivery at very competitive prices. And I think in India, we call it small and medium enterprise. The world is wanting to move for modular manufacturing, right? A large company saying that we will move our bigger factory will move into modules now, right? We already have these modules, which are independent companies, happen to be independent companies. So we are in a good shape. Only thing is whether on the compliance side of it, whether in terms of our cost side of it, whether hygiene side of it, I think those are the things which need to be corrected. And like I always say that every time I have hired people or helped my client hire people is that hire somebody who is hardworking, who is intelligent. We can always teach him how to speak good English, how to write good in English, and what shoes to wear and what tie to wear. That is easy, right? As long as the person is hardworking and intelligent, has the competence. Same thing I'm saying here. Our small and medium enterprises, they have all of that. Rest all part, we can teach them very, very quickly, as long as they intend to improve and as long as there's some larger organization who is a consolidator is willing to help them that process. I think it can happen very well. I believe this is our strength. I have never believed in let's say, larger and larger and larger manufacturing. I've always believed in larger and larger businesses, right? But not larger and larger manufacturing capacities. It should be like that. And I think we already have it. Look at Tirupur, look at Ludhiana, all of that. Cleaning up places is easy. Building places is very, very difficult.
Absolutely. I think small is beautiful is what you're saying. Small has an opportunity right now, particularly in the context of being nimble and agile. Very well put. Yeah, here is another question from, will low price products and private brands do well during these times? Any data points from the past or other countries?
See, when we say lower price, obviously we are comparing it with something. So let me say this phrase I have used quite often in the last few months, and even I am impressed with that nobody is looking for lowest price. Oh, sorry, nobody is looking for the cheapest product. Everybody is looking for the lowest price. Right? So people are very clear what they are looking for, what they want, right? Within that, they are looking for the lowest price. Nobody is looking for the cheapest. Right? To give you an example, I didn't want to actually, and I just looked at this brown leather bag in a coach store at Palladium in Bombay. And I looked at it and I loved it, right? And I buy a bag every 20 years probably, and I don't throw them away. So I'm not a big shopper for personal stuff, but I really loved it. So I went to the store, I asked this woman, and she obviously, like you go to any luxury store, before they tell you the price, first she'll take out the bag, put it in your hand so that you obviously start fall in love and now we don't care. And she can see it, this guy may not be willing, but is capable of paying this kind of money. Oh, she started pushing, right? And it was some 97,000 rupees. I said, man, this is too much money to pay for a bag and all of that. And I obviously, I'm a market researcher. I know how to walk out of these situations without buying anything, and ask all the right questions and walk out. I walked out. But obviously that bag won't leave my mind. It was still there. And then I was going to US in next few weeks, and I said, okay, I'll check it out in US. I went to US, looked at the price in New York, and 84,000 something. Great, better. And then I said, why not check online? And I looked online and I found it on Amazon for 69,000. I'm still buying the same Coach bag. I'm not looking for a cheaper bag.
Yep.
I'm just looking for the lowest price. Right? So I think there is no lower price, right? There is nothing, no cheaper price, no lower price product, nothing. People are looking at what they want to buy. As long as you are delivering the value, I think that's where, if you tell somebody, let's say who is a auto rickshaw driver, tell him that you buy this shirt and now you don't need to buy a shirt for another 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Then you are going to tell him the price, and then he's going to work out the price equation. He may be ending up paying a price more than what you will pay for a shirt in an Arrow store. He'll be willing to pay that, right? If you tell somebody that this is, so I think that's how it need to be looked at. Yes, same product at a lower price, right? Because of the channel margins have been cut, intermediaries have been removed, and all of that, and more efficiency has been found. Obviously, why would anybody like to pay more than what they should be paying? Anybody offering lower prices more welcome. But I think re-engineering products to make them cheaper, right? I think the worst case study, and I'm so happy that it didn't succeed. I am on record to say that when Tata Nano was being dreamt of, I said that this is a disaster. Because when you start re-engineering products like this, reverse engineering products to make them cheaper, you are saying in future nobody should be making a great product. When nobody's making a great product, what you are going to reverse engineer? Because there is a car, you are able to think about it making it at 1 lakh rupee. Just by make it smaller, make it lighter, make it poorer. No, that's not the way. And I very strongly feel about it. That's why I'm saying it. When people start saying, oh, we can use a lower GSM fabric, we can use poorer dyes, right? We can cut corners here and there. No, that's not the way to make things lower price. That's not how it should be. You are not giving same thing to people and making them believe that they are getting it cheaper. Not right at all.
Insightful, Harminder. Therefore, I think it's not a question of cheap. It's a question of delivering value, which makes sense.
That's
relative
right.
Relative to the customer. I think very well put there. I think a lot of people asking question, what should be my pricing strategy post COVID? And I'm sure that the Nano example you talked about and how you really view your price and value is going to be fundamental here. And next question, there are questions related to price. I'll just pick maybe last two. There are two hypotheses floating around. One is premium will be available at value post-COVID. And will this be the best time to own consumers going for it, which means branded business start to do well? Second hypothesis is, will they go for value clothing where price and value come together, and that can also boom. Therefore, there are dichotomy. Which one of this is going to be working post-COVID?
Okay, let me try to answer it differently. I think post-COVID, people are, so at this point of time, everybody feels that it's been a very leveling force. All of us are in the same boat, right? Same enemy, all susceptible. So we all are in the same boat, right? And we all feel very connected as a humanity, and we are all equal and all of that. But I think the moment we'll come out of it, I think we are going to, just even pre-COVID, all of us, we have been living in our air-conditioned boxes for what? Save ourselves from what? From the dust, from the grime, from the bacteria, from the heat, all of that. Now there's another virus, right? So I think this is only going to lead to even further segmentation of the market. He'll come out of it even further segmented, thinly segmented, right? To the extent situation will happen that most of the luxury store actually may go down to the level where they say that we only attend to customers who come by appointment. Because they can afford to do that. Anyway, they get 4 people to come into their store in a day, or 6 or 12, right? Now they're going to tell their customers that they believe in nobody in the store when you come in, and every time before you are coming in, we are going to disinfect it, right? So, and obviously there will be a price to pay for it, and people will be willing to pay the price for it, right? So this is how it's going to happen. The equation will work in a very different manner, right? And even the premium brands, I think they're also going to do like that. So that means things are going to become even more exclusive, and more exclusive they become, and exclusive because people will want that exclusivity, that exclude. Like I read this phrase somewhere a long time back that in India, you don't pay the price for the premium you get inside, or luxury you get inside. You only pay the premium because of keeping the riffraff out. So $1 million apartment in India is not equivalent of $1 million apartment in Singapore. With the price you are not paying $1 million for the luxury you will get. It's only to keep the riffraff out. So I think keeping the riffraff out, keeping the virus out, this is again going to become, at every level it will play out, right? A lot of people have been saying that people may not go back to malls. People will go back to malls, then they'll go. It will be we are disinfecting, we are doing all of that, and yes, there will be a price to pay for it. Even today, there is a price to pay for it, right? You pay for the parking, you pay for the food, everything, there is a price to pay for it. I think it will happen. So I think segmentation will happen. You need to look at your segments and how it's going to work out, right? And within that, you make your own pricing, your own distribution, or customer service strategy. Nothing is going, nobody is, so like I said, that because in the question, somebody was saying that things are going to brands and luxury is going to get cheaper. No, I don't see it like that. Because the people who can afford luxury, for them, another 10-20% is not too much. Because for somebody to graduate to luxury because it's 10-20% cheaper is very difficult, sir. It's not just 10-20% away. Luxury from the next level is away by almost 60-70%. Right? You can get a high design bag for even today at 10, 12, 15,000, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite far. Just because that bag will become now 50,000, I don't think many people will leave high design and start buying Gucci or Coach. No. So they won't do it. They will say, no, we are even more exclusive now.
So again, interesting perspective, but I think the question is to see that segmentation will multiply, and
yes,
niches which will get created. The question is for people to think which niche that they want to create and what's relevant for their consumer. And within that, you have to optimize all the parameters. Is what you're saying? Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was really wonderful, Harminder. I think there are questions where I think the similar things that you have answered. Overall, I think a very, very fresh perspective to what we have been doing so far. And before we move on, any closing comments from your side, Harminder?
I think my message is very clear that we should take it in stride, whether it's 40, 70 or 100. Whatever, even my report is going to say that market will shrink by 50%, but that's only for this financial year, right? don't worry about that too much, right? Keep your eyes on the next financial year and beyond, which is a very, very beautiful future, because the long-term direction for India is absolutely super and positive, under-penetrated, underserved market. All these things which are happening today, whether the financial crisis, right, or whether it anti-immigration stuff which is happening, whether globalization ending, or whether now with this virus coming in, attention is going in the right direction, sir. If in India we can move even 15-20% of our defense budget towards health now, right? Imagine how wonderful this country is going to be, right? We are not dying every day just because our health facilities are very poor, but we are just not healthy, right? And more people die than they should. 15-20% of defense budget will multiply my health budget 3 times here. So it's a good thing to happen. Attention has come to the right places. Now we know who is the real enemy. Let's not worry about China or Pakistan ruling India at some point of time and keep spending billions of dollars on those planes, which become outdated in few years. Like, let's worry about this virus killing us as people and fight against it, and then we will put money on the. So that will happen. People become healthier. People become more positive about it. People become consumers. They will need high quality, good products, good brands. That's where our business is like. Let's prepare for serving them and be optimistic about our business, because it's fashion business. First thing which people love to do. See, I landed in this industry at the age of 16 when I joined textile engineering, right? Not by choice, just because I didn't get anywhere else, right? But I'm telling you, I'm so happy to be in this industry because it's such a large industry, continues to grow, and it offers people without compromising too much on their health, because people can feel very happy by drinking alcohol also, by smoking also, taking drugs also, or just lounging around in their house watching Netflix. All that is addictive and bad. While this fashion, not only it makes people feel good about them, it actually makes the world look so much brighter and beautiful. Anybody who looks at the person who is dressed well also feels happier about his life. So yes, we are part of such a wonderful industry. Let's enjoy being here and stay positive. We'll make more money accepting this year, much more than what we have made in our lives. I'm very confident, if that is the objective.
Now, with that note of optimism and opportunities for everybody in the ecosystem, we just want to present you one small thing. And Hema, would you like to share that? 1 second, let me just show that. I'll just share the screen and show you what we are presenting.
Sure.
Meanwhile, any audience, any questions?
Hi, Harminder. We met once in the airport with Ganesh. I'm not sure if you remember me. This is Hema.
Bombay Airport, right?
Yes, Bombay Airport. Harminder, I really think your take on things is very different, very, very different. Of course, we've had multiple perspectives in this forum, but this was very unique. I couldn't control myself. I kept adding all those comments to you on the chat. I just think the perspective is unique. It's amazing.
1 second.
Thanks for that.
1 second. Just sharing that. Removing the clutter from the desktop so that you see.
That's what I started doing as well.
Yeah.
It's a very small token from our side, Harminder. If usually,
Harminder, can you see what it is?
Yeah, I can see.
Absolutely. We have planted a tree on your name.
Thank
and
you.
not only that, and there is also a meal for migrants who are stuck in lockdown. Both happening, and you can track your, we'll send you this certificate. You can track your tree personally by scanning this barcode for the time to come. And, we last heard that in US, in New York particularly, the COVID intensity is high where the pollution is high. So we are also contributing. I think sustainability, health are all coming together. And I'm sure that the industry grows like the tree will grow from now on. Thank you very much for your time.
Very thoughtful.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much, Harminder. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Wonderful
you.
talking to you. Thank you.